15th meeting of the Carter County Commission is now in session. I respectfully request everyone in the courtroom to please turn off the cell phones at this time. Also, commissioners, just let me remind you to not use your phone for texting. This is very distracting, and we need to remain focused on the issues and orders of the day. Commissioners, if you wish to speak at any given time during this meeting, please stand to be recognized by the chair. Only one person will be recognized to speak at any given time. All discussion must pertain to the issues at hand, those items that are under consideration. Going off on irrelevant topics is not in order. Thorough debate of the issues is always encouraged. However, personal attacks will not be tolerated. A professional decorum must be maintained throughout these proceedings at all times. During commissioner comments, motions to adjourn will not be acknowledged until the chair is satisfied that all commissioners that wish to speak have been recognized. Madam Clerk, if you would please take the roll. Okay. We do have a quorum. There's 20. Is there a problem? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Gary Smith, if you would please come forth and present the emergency egress plan.
Good evening. For those of you who may not have attended the county commission meeting in the past, we just want to make sure that you know where the emergency exits are. Should an event arise that requires us to evacuate the courtroom, our primary evacuation route is the south entrance on the monument side, with the assembly point being the parking lot in the back area. Our secondary evacuation route is the stairs across from the elevator, and again, the assembly area will be in the same area in the parking lot. We do have an AED downstairs should the need arise. We hope that does not happen, but it's located next to the elevator. And last but certainly not least, the restrooms are located on the north end of the building on both the first and second floor. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. You all have a copy of the agenda. You've had an opportunity to review that. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion pertaining to the agenda. Have a motion by Mr. Lewis to accept. Have a second by Mr. Holdren. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I'd like, before we take a vote, for Mr. Harden to address 11B under resolutions. I'd like to know your opinion. Is it what you sent out last week? Has that changed? And if so, there may be some other action in regards to that particular resolution.
I will elaborate. It's a little complicated, but I have learned some new information since I sent the letter out. There's some question as to the membership on the Planning Commission, how many members are actually on it, if there's vacancies or one or two vacancies, and the content of the actual motion that got it to this body. What I will say is although I don't think there's official minutes prepared, I have listened to the audio of the meeting. I think the motion that was made was to send the resolution to this body. And there was a statement made prior to the votes being taken that it was going to be sent back to me and back to the Planning Commission. I don't know if that statement changed the way people may have voted, but certainly that couldn't change the motion. Nobody made any further clarifications after that statement was made and the vote proceeded. So I can't say I wasn't there. I don't know what was in the hearts and minds of the people who voted, if that statement changed the way they voted. But it seems that the motion was made to send it here. But like I said, it's something that I don't know if there's a huge rush on it being considered tonight, or how you all would vote on it if it is considered. But that's your prerogative. Like I said, there won't be any official meeting minutes, I assume, until next month. So, if audio is good enough, and with that caveat, it's up to you.
Well, in your role as county attorney, the way that I read your letter was you thought it was probably prudent for the commission to ask the planning commission to look at it before we actually voted it up or down.
Certainly, regardless of the situation, I think there was a motion that it be amended. I guess if you want to be, completely in line with the rules, you would review the amended motion before recommending approval. So on that basis, like I said, I don't know if there's a rush to hear it tonight or to decide on it tonight. Certainly, if it's possible to wait and clarify this matter, I'm for that, if you all are of that opinion.
In that regard, Chairman, I would make a motion to amend the motion to send 11B back to the Planning Commission and let them act on it, and then we hear it next month.
I could not hear the motion, but
His motion was to amend the agenda on 11B and send it back to the Planning Commission and then bring it back here. Is there a second to that motion? I have a second by Mr. Meehan. Now we're going into discussion. Mr. Meehan.
I think the item on the agenda is inappropriate and out of order, and it is not in line with Robert's Rules of Orders or any order that this commission should consider at this time.
Mr. Meehan, since we don't have Mr. Lyons is not here tonight, and I think that there's some information this commission needs to hear before you vote on this. Mr. Attorney, who do you recommend taking the chair?
Well, that's a good question. I guess the only past acting chair that's been here since I've been here is Ms. Kohler, if she's willing to do that.
Ms. Culler, would you be willing to accept the chair temporarily while the mayor responds to this discussion? Because it's important that the commission know the information that we have now. It's extremely important.
I'll do the best I can do. Mayor, if you'd like to address, you have 3 minutes.
Madam Chair, this is very complicated. It will take more than 3 minutes. This is not public comments. This is information that the commission needs that the attorney didn't necessarily have at the time when he wrote that opinion.
Go ahead.
It's going to take a while, okay? First and foremost, any of us, if we so choose, we can write history the way we want it to, whether or not that's exactly what happened or not. Now, I closed business on Friday afternoon. I got an email, like some of you, just select individuals. Mr. Acuff, you got that email as well. And I didn't get the correspondence or a copy of the correspondence that prompted that, but I can understand in talking with the county attorney, the decision that he made at that time, the opinion that he rendered based on the information he was given. I'm here to tell you today that that information is totally incorrect, and I'm prepared to play the audio that will support it. As you well know, the mayor acted in a fashion to get this before Financial Management Committee. Financial Management Committee, the chair in particular, Mr. Ray Lyons, felt it more appropriate that it go to Planning Commission, which is great. If it goes to Planning Commission, it's approved and comes back here, that's what we need to do. So with that, we went into that meeting, and actually, Ms. Robinson, how are you this minute? 41 minutes into that meeting, we got to this item on the agenda. So I'm going to play for you exactly what transpired, because there's been a tremendous doubt put in your mind as to what happened that didn't actually happen. And the attorney's touched on that. He's listed this, and I've given the timestamps today. So we're going to start at 41 minutes roughly, and we're going to play just about a minute and a half as to what the original motion was, okay?
Is an elected official that will put up to 4 more elected.
We'll have to start this again. We've got to switch it over. I apologize. I didn't do that before I came over.
First wasn't on there, let's say, Mayor Johnson.
Will that include the question before, the statement before?
It'll include all of this, okay? Let's go back if we would restart that. Okay, just listen attentively. We've got the sound best we can.
Uneven, and it would be more than 50%, which is something they fought very hard against.
It's a little before, but let's grab this about 30 seconds, okay?
I think that's pretty much the extent of it. Rhonda, would you like to chime in on this any way, shape, or form? Right. It's a large possibility. State law says elected official, it doesn't say commissioners, it says elected official. Well, I'm well aware of that. Hold on just 1 second.
The motion was to move the city to full commission for
Motion
consideration.
on the floor. We got a motion on Mayor Leon Humphreys to progress a resolution up back to the county commission for the reduction of the members of the Carter County Regional Planning Commission. I said advance it to your full commission. To make a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a second? Second vote. You're Robert. Just,
Mr. Chairman,
With that, you've heard the motion. Mr. Schumer repeated it. We had a, not 1 second, but 2. The one that you could barely hear was Mr. Smith. The second one was Mr. Robert Carroll. He made the motion. That motion failed on a vote of 5-5. Okay? Now, with that, I'm sorry. We've got to go. You need to know what happened, folks. Now, at 1 minute 3:36 roughly, the question was, since that motion failed, Mr. Schumer directed it, even though he's not the chair, he's assisting Chairman Pearman with these discussions. And the question was, does anybody want to revote this same issue without change? So let's go ahead and play that in about 1:03, and bear with us if we're off on that a little bit. 1:03. I mean, 1:03. I'm sorry.
anyone want to make a motion to revote? On the same motion, it failed due to the time.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made from Mayor Humphries. To revote. Anyone wants to make a second? Second.
I'll say it.
green light. We have a second by Mr. Randall Jenkins. Discussion.
Okay, Mr. Randall Jenkins had some questions, but he wanted to go ahead and second it. So he seconded the motion to revote the exact motion that had been made. The motion was to advance this to the full commission for consideration, which is proper. With that, we went on for another X number of minutes, and there was lots of discussion. There was an amendment. We went on item 5. The whole concern of the Planning Commission at the time was that there were too many county commissioners on that particular board. And the concern was that if the mayor in particular sat on that board and he controlled those 4 commissioners, then the mayor could very well be the kingpin and control the Planning Commission. And even with that, some of the discussion was they asked the mayor to step down. Would the mayor step down from his position on that chair, even though the private act makes it clear that the chairman of the county commission has to have a seat on that board. But nonetheless, after everything was said and done, the discussion resulted in suggestions by Mr. Jenkins, suggestions by Commissioner Lyons, lots of discussion between myself and the chair of the Planning Commission. And there were questions that were posed to Mr. Schutler, and those questions were in discussion. It was clear that Mr. Schutler was totally adamantly against 4 county commissioners being on that board and part of this resolution. So we reached a compromise, and Mr. Randall and Mr. Ray were instrumental in that, and Mr. Ray asked me, ultimately, we went from 4, which was in there originally, down to 3, down to 1, and back to 2, to make it fair. And everybody at the time felt that with two county commissioners, it would not be an issue. And even Mr. Schutler himself said it's not a problem. So when the vote was cast, no other amendments were made to that motion. Again, the motion was to send it to the full commission for consideration. The only amendment was item 5. Item 5 now being 2 county commissioners, not 4. It's very simple. When the votes were cast, there were 10 members present that day, 10 members of what was to be a 12-member board. Ms. Culler was there, I was there, Ray Lyons, Robert Carroll, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Ken Arney was there, Mr. Ralph Watson, Mr. Steve Pierce, and Mr. Jerry Smith. When the roll was called, none of us amended our motions other than that one amendment because everybody was in agreement. That's what it took to satisfy the Planning Commission. The vote was 6-4. 6 for the advancement of this to full commission, 4 against. Folks, keep in mind, back in March, Mr. Schutler sent me a piece of correspondence advising nominating committee, Mr. Meehan, you got a copy of that correspondence as well, advising that Mr. Hughes' term was expiring in April. And in that correspondence, he made clear, and so did you, Chairman Meehan, that the mayor's office advertised that position, which we did. That position was advertised to fill that vacancy because it was clear in that correspondence that Mr. Hughes did not want to be reappointed. That's in Mr. Schutler, and I can give you all a copy of that letter. Does not want to be reappointed. So with that, it made the total members, when his term expired in April, keep in mind this is May 8th, it made the total membership of that planning commission not 12, but 11, just like we've done here in our rules. If there's a vacancy on this, we have to change roll call pro for the majority, depending on what that number is. Also, Miss Mary Ann Patton was not present at that meeting. And I have found out today that Miss Patton also is no longer a member. She did give us a letter of resignation, which I advanced to you, Chairman, Mr. Shupler. But it come to my attention that Miss Patton had not been a member really since June of last year. June of last year. Miss Patton, even though she's a property owner in Carter County, she owns a home, she owns land, she pays taxes, she is a member of the Planning Commission. It was of her opinion that she could retain her seat, but her primary residence went out of the county. So that made her no longer, the time she moved, as we know from Mr. Jerry Prophet, she's no longer a member of that Planning Commission and has not been since June of last year. So now we have we have a 10-member board. But regardless, even without considering Ms. Patton, we went from a 12-member to 11. The clear majority on the 11-member board is 6. That's all it takes to advance it on. That's exactly what happened. The audio's here. It's irrefutable. So I do object to Mr. Meehan saying the Robert Rules Board weren't adhered to. They were adhered to exactly. We followed the rules that were established for this commission, and we've done nothing to adhere to it. And the information that the county attorney was given, and I can understand why he rendered the opinion that he did in that correspondence on Friday, but the information he was given is not in line. Those minutes, which I haven't seen, and they're not official minutes anyhow until they're approved by the Planning Commission, those were submitted to him indicating something different than what's on this audio. The audio is irrefutable. Mr. Ward.
You said Ms. Patton took off the commission last June, but she's voted every meeting since then, am I correct?
What meetings that we've had, she's been there because she didn't know the difference. And no one cared to explain that to her.
But she voted, so everything you guys voted on could be subject to...
It's very possible, sir, yes. And the thing about it is, but keep in mind, she wasn't at that meeting, and Ms. Patton, she just was not at that meeting. It didn't matter. Mr. Jerry Pierman, the chairman of the committee, if you want to listen to all that, you could see that he was a proponent of advancing this on the full commission. So, I know the motion's been made. You weren't aware of that, were you, Commissioner? All that, it does make a difference. It's irrefutable. And the county attorney, that's why I provided him a copy of this with the timestamps so that he could look at that and listen to it. And it does change your position. At least I would hope so.
Just a second. Mr. Meehan?
You say it's irrefutable, but at the last nominating committee, the last information we had in the full committee, that there were 12 members on that board. And the precedent has been set that unless there's a majority of that, which would be 7 votes, that vote would be invalid. Now, we've had a lot of stuff being given to us by you, Mr. Mayor, and but I reject that, and I say that the precedent is, and we've had it on the budget committee, we only had 4 votes. The motion didn't pass. It failed. And we only had 6 votes on a 12-member planning commission, and that vote should fail. It should not come to this full commission. This is something that you desire, and you have been pressing over the last 6, 7, 8 months or more to do something with this planning commission, and we've felt it, we've heard from you, And this seems to be another one of your moves to try to make this happen. And I object to your locating in this situation.
Mr. Holden, I asked Dr. Acuff to wait, so I'll call on you next. Dr. Acuff? Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Mayor, I certainly agree with you. You've made the statement a number of times that we are county compliance, and I think most of our committees that send resolutions forward at least have the opportunity to read it. I don't disagree with you at all about downsizing. I think it's a good thing. It's a discussion that we are going to have, I assume, as soon as Commissioner Jenkins brings forward a plan for downsizing this body. I'm all for saving county citizens money, but in order to be compliant, I still hold to the fact that I think the resolution should go back to Planning Commission and then let them read it. If they're happy with it, then send it forward.
Mr. Holden?
I'd just like to get an opinion from the attorney after listening to the new audio. Is this a valid, does it meet Robert's Rules of Order or not?
Yes, the vote does. I mean, what I would ask, I guess, if you're going to play those parts, is to play the part I was referring to, just in fairness, to the part where it was referenced prior to the vote, that this was coming back to me and coming back to the Planning Commission. Because like I said, I have no idea, I wasn't there, but that was stated right before the vote. So I don't know if that changed the way people voted or not, but if you're going to listen to the motion part, I think you should listen to the voting part, and that's the only thing that gives me pause. As far as the Robert's Rules of Order, yes, if it truly was, if there's 11 members of that board, 6 is a majority, vacancies don't count, just like they don't here. So in my opinion, if 6 votes were obtained, yes, but like I said, I have no idea what that statement changed, if it changed anything. It can't change the motion, I understand that. No matter what he said, it couldn't change what the motion was. But I don't know if that changed the way people voted, and that's all I would say.
Any other commissioner would like to speak? Mr. Trivett?
I'd like to say something. I wasn't at the planning commission, but was Mr. Jamie Hughes there?
Mr. Hughes has attended maybe one meeting in the entire time he
In the
was on.
last-
He's never attended, it's a vacant seat. So just by that nature of that alone, it's vacated years ago.
He's not attended the last 2 years.
No,
And the lady wasn't there either, was she?
no, sir.
So that means 10 people, right? That means,
It doesn't matter if they're present or not, that's got nothing to do with it.
I know.
If it's a vacancy is the issue.
yeah.
Just not being there doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's
but the
vacant.
vote was 6-4.
Correct, but 6 is not a majority of 12.
But 6 is a majority of 11, and that's what the county attorney, and we know for a fact that there was only 11-member board because the chairman of the nominating made the request. We've got the correspondence from Mr. Schuler, which outlined that, and we've advertised. Now, Madam Chair, if I may, can I rebut to what Mr. Meehan has stated? If these folks have made a statement, I think the mayor should be able to at least counter. I've sat up there quiet for a long time.
That'd be fine.
First of all, Mr. Meehan, yes, the mayor is a proponent of downsizing planning commission. And- Well, I just want to make certain Mr. Meehan can hear me because he has a hearing impairment. It's not been 6 or 7 months that this mayor's worked for downsizing. He's been doing it for almost 7 years. Not this planning commission, but the entire commission. My history speaks for itself. I make no bones about it, and I'm not giving any apologies here today because that's what I told the people I'd do. And I'll continue to do it as long as I'm here, and even afterwards. Because you don't have to be an elected official to be active in your communities. You well know that. We've got a lot of citizens out here that are making a total difference on this landscape. And 2, county attorney has made clear, and he should have removed any doubt from your mind as far as the number, what the procedure is. There was only 11 members, even without Ms. Patton. When you take Ms. Patton, it's 10.
12 members. The number that I was given when we dealt with it in the committee.
Madam Chair, may I approach the bench?
You may.
please read that aloud to this commission so that they'll know that you were aware directly from Mr. Chris Shute as to what the status of the membership of that planning commission was?
The emails that I've received said there was a 12-member committee.
What does this say? This is dated March the 9th. Will you read it, sir?
The emails came after March the 9th, and they said there were 12 members of the committee. And when it came to our committee, there were 12 members. That's what I'm going on.
With that, Mr. Chairman's not going to read it, so I will. March 9, 2017, to Chairman, Carter County Nomination Committee, from Chris Shutler, Director. Subject, Planning Commission Board. Dear Chairman, please be advised, James Hughes requests to be removed from the Carter County Board of Planning Commissioners. Be further advised that Mr. Jerry Perriman and Mr. Ralph Watson wish to continue their appointment to said board. I respectfully request Mr. Perriman and Mr. Watson be nominated for reappointment, which you did.
And you objected to that.
I have no vote in it.
Yeah, but you objected.
I also respectfully request the mayor's office advertise for applications of appointment for Mr. Hughes' position in the areas of Milligan College, Jim Elliott Road, and Leach Road. These above appointments are for April 2017. And with that correspondence, they gave us, Mr. Shutler clarified whose position and what terms he had when they expired. There it is. And with that, you can see that here's the advertisement that was ran for that position. So, Mr. Meehan, there are not 12 members today. There's only 11, even if you don't consider Miss Patton. So I don't care what your emails say after that. The record clearly reflects that we have only 11-member board.
Thank you, Mayor. I think everybody. Mr. Hill, did you have a question?
Well, this would be more appropriate in discussion later if we actually debate the resolution. I'm not sure what the forced time constraint is on amending this thing. And I feel like we need to be careful when we start tinkering with things that were written by our predecessors. In 72, there's an elegance to the private act that's not present in this resolution. There's a lot of redundancies, and I don't know where the number 9 came from, because the way I read the private act of 92, there are 8 school districts currently, and it says that one of the members shall be the chairman of the county court, and one of the members shall be a member of the quarterly county court selected by the quarterly county court, which would be the commission. I count 10 members there. And there's some more stuff about equal representation, and it's pretty elegantly written. And I also don't know why the county planning commission wouldn't get, first pass at editing, amending, whatever you want to call it, because there's I'll bring it up later if we talk about this later.
Mr. Ward?
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is very, once we said that in order to resign, there has to be a written resignation. Is that true?
Not necessarily so.
That's what you told us in the past on other boards.
We would like to have something in writing.
No, that's what you said that is a requirement for a vacancy to happen. There has to be a written letter from the person who is vacating that seat. So if that's the case, do you have anything from Mr. Hughes in writing that we can see today?
The only thing I have in writing, I do have a resignation from Ms. Patton. I do have Mr. Shutler's letter, being director, is good enough for me at this
No,
point.
that's not good enough for us. It's supposed to be a letter of resignation from every person who ever wants to resign from any committee, has to do it in writing. Terry Crawford had to do it. Everybody who's come before us in the past has had to do it. And if we're going to be in compliance, we need to do it all the way. We can put this back another month, and ain't going to hurt a thing.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Ms. Brown?
Back to compliance, just where you left it. Last month in our packet, we had minutes from the planning commission that went back 3 months. It was 3 months back. So literally this month, we don't even have any. Once we get 3 months back, if we're going to be in compliance, they need to comply. We're all going to answer questions here tonight because we don't have minutes to go on. If you did get to go to the meeting.
Ms. Brown, I think I can clarify that with Mr. McKay on the minutes.
The minutes for our planning commission meeting from last month will be approved at the next commission meeting, planning commission meeting. We don't have those minutes approved. None of those minutes should have been read or listened to in this meeting because they have not been approved by the planning commission.
Mr. Meehan?
There's more to this issue than what has been presented at this meeting. We have a pattern of behavior by the mayor to keep bringing things up over and over again to wear down committees, commission, boards, and even this full commission, such as the hour of meeting. It's got to be at night. Can't have it at day, or we'll lose commissioners. And we have examples now of one of the commissioners that was cited that we were going to lose has missed several meetings on these evening meetings. So I reject the attitude of bringing this stuff back over and over again to wear down committees.
Mr. Meehan, that is on a different subject. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to call the question.
Call for the question. The motion is that we approve the agenda as written, correct?
No, that's not the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the amendment.
Oh, on
Make
the
the
amendment,
amendment
okay. Dr. Acuff, if you would repeat your,
Sure, to remove 11B, resolution 11B, from the agenda, send it back to the planning commission for their review, and have them send it to us for next month.
thank you. You heard the motion by Dr. Acuff.
So restate
There's
the
no more
motion,
discussion, excuse me?
please. Restate the motion, please.
The motion is that we amend the agenda to send 11B back to the planning commission. Is that correct, Dr. Acuff?
Yes, ma'am.
If there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
can I say something before we vote?
go ahead, Mr. Porter.
Madam Chair, the question's already called.
There you go. I try to be nice, I get in trouble every time.
Motion fails. Madam Chair, can I take a seat back?
You may.
Thank you. Thank you. Give me just 1 second. Now, Chair will entertain a motion for the agenda as submitted. Do I hear a motion? Have a motion by Mr. Holder. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Lewis. Any discussion? All those in favor of proceeding, respond accordingly. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Motion passes. Next item. Opening prayer. We probably should have started that first thing. If you would please stand and remain standing. Commissioner Campbell will lead us in prayer. Mr. Ronnie Trivett then will lead the pledge to the flag.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, Lord, as we bow our heads and approach your throne of grace boldly, Lord, today, thanking you for the good health, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for watching over us. But God, most of all, thank you for the best gift that we could ever receive that came from you, was your precious Son, Jesus. Lord, we thank you today, God, that you've kept us in good health, you've watched over us, your mercy and your grace, God, has been upon each one of us. Lord, we know that we can do nothing here tonight without you. But your word says that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Father, tonight we ask for your wisdom and your knowledge. God, we pray, Lord, for this commission. We pray, Lord, for our county leaders, God. And we pray, Lord, for our country. We pray for our foreign countries, Lord. Lord, we just pray, God, that there'll be peace, Lord, here on earth, Lord, peace within our own hearts, God. Lord, we could never praise you enough for what you've done for each one of us. God, every prayer that you've answered and the ones you're going to answer for us, Lord. Lord, I notice tonight there's not some here tonight, Lord, for unknown reasons. Lord, we pray, God, that you have your mercy and grace upon them, Lord. We ask these things in your name. And all God's people said,
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like for all elected and appointed officials to please stand to be recognized. Thank you. We appreciate your service. This time, we're at public comments on the agenda. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission, please stand to be recognized. You'll have 5 minutes to address the commission. Mr. Arney, if you would please, clearly state your name. You've got 5 minutes.
Ken Arney, 6th District, Carter County, former of the Carter County Commission. I sat on this planning board, and there was a statement made in this planning meeting. Brendan and Elizabeth and Starr and the mayor took a sworn oath that he would abide by the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Tennessee. And I'm going to read you this quote. I don't think we need to worry about constitutional rights. And on this statement, I'm going to ask for his resignation as mayor of Carter County tonight, because he's not going to abide by the Constitution of the United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Arney. Is there anyone else that would like to address the county commission? Please, Ms. McCamey, if you would please come to the podium, state your name. You have 5 minutes.
I just want to point out some things tonight. I know you can read. I won't stand up here and read to you. I've had to in the past for time's sake. But I'm going to hit some highlights so that you can read on your own. This is 9 months we've been coming and asking for help. You know, you can create a human in 9 months. So I'd like to ask, what have you done? And I appreciate those of you. I've seen faces at the animal shelter meeting. I've seen faces at the animal shelter itself. And I know some of you are out there working and helping. But these animals need you. They need you. Some of the things that have happened, LMU trip turned tragic. I don't know if some of you know about this or not, but there was a dog euthanized because it wasn't properly handled on the trip. It got overexhausted from the anxiety of the trip from here to Kingsport. So someone could have been called from the shelter to take the dog, a vet could have been called, Wendy, Shannon, anybody from the shelter, nothing was done for this poor dog. Once arrival at LMU, the mayor and Shannon went on a tour. No one bothered to contact them, and they euthanized the dog. Now, how fair was it for that poor dog? In LMU's contract, in which I received today in an email from the mayor, it states that LMU will contact before euthanizing an animal. Well, they've already broke their contract. Speaking of contract, I listed the link here for you so that you can look yourself. I've got a few copies, but it was 8 pages long. That's a lot for 20 of you, 24 of you. And so, basically, I was told in an email on I sent the first email February 22nd. I didn't receive an email back until March 27th or 29th, that there was no LMU contract. Once I got the signatures, the mayor signed the contract December 21st. So when he sent the email to me, he knew there was a contract. So just so you know. And the Kentucky Humane Society, we're traveling 5.5 hours to take animals to a rescue when there's 145 minutes up the road. So I would ask, are we paying overtime to the mayor's secretary when she takes those trips? I don't know, I haven't had a chance to check, but that might be something you're interested in. I've been doing a lot of legwork, a lot of homework, and I would ask that some of you help to do that, to hold them accountable. Shelter hours have changed. The advisory board was not contacted or consulted, nor were the employees. They've been required to work Sundays, weekends, different hours. There are 3 co-directors at the shelter. Only one of them is required to work weekends, including Easter Sunday, which Shannon had to work. Shannon also goes out on calls for animal control, in which we have now gotten, hopefully, some people on board with us to help out with that. But she's not receiving any extra compensation. Bless you. So I would ask that you, also she worked 12 days straight in a row without a day off. That's important. Other shelters, I've checked around for months now, but one I checked on today just to kind of continue with showing you the differences. Avery County, they have 30 dogs and 50 cat capacity with 19 employees. That's 19 paid employees. They also had 50 volunteers. Parliamentary procedure, I'm skipping around if you're following me with it a little bit because someone else is going to cover that. But I want to jump down to parliamentary procedure. There are times that I've needed more time so that I could inform you, and we're not real consistent with our parliamentary procedure. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. That concerns me because at the animal shelter meeting, that is also being allowed to happen. We have people making motions that aren't a voting member. So I would ask, who's holding the people accountable on these committees for parliamentary procedure? I also want to point out that no one is taking charge of feral cats. And I know Ms. Mary Lou Eastet has come up and spoke about feral cats, and you can laugh it off, but there was $250,000 back when Ms. King was doing it. So imagine if it's
Thank
not
you, Ms.
getting done.
McCamey. Your time is
I would
up.
like to ask for a few more minutes.
No, ma'am.
because the mayor can't talk when he needs to talk,
Ma'am.
and I just need a few.
Ma'am, if you would, please.
Also, he talked over at the city council.
Ma'am.
And they never time me, they let me say.
Officer, if you would, please. I'm being very respectful. I'm asking you respectfully.
Asking for extra
Would
time.
you please take your seat? If you can take your seat, you can remain. Thank you. Now, is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? Yes, ma'am. Miss Brittany, if you would please come forward, state your name. You likewise have 5 minutes.
I know that my name is Brittany Madden, M-A-D-D-E-N. I brought a step stool today because I want to make sure that, I can be heard. And so, anyways, my address is 222 Kingbrook Road, and I'm also here to address the animal shelter. As of right now, the animal shelter is closed for cleaning, which is a good thing, but at the same time, they are at full capacity. As of today, they have 90 cats and 33 dogs. So one of the questions is, right now the animal shelter doesn't state what makes them at capacity. So one of my questions is, who's making the decision to determine how many animals is enough? And then there's also 4 dogs there that have signs on them that say that they bite. But we feel that those signs are not visible to children, and we feel that that's a great concern. So when it comes to the shelter, as you know, I've been, and others have been addressing the volunteer situation, which we understand we're waiting for Brother Wolf to come in and address that situation. But in that time, the mayor has allowed volunteers of his choosing, even though he states that the comptroller said that there's no volunteers allowed. And we've put examples in that handout. First of all, the mayor's secretary was allowed to volunteer to travel in a personal vehicle with the county property animals and cross state lines in Kentucky while transporting animals. The other one was a Northeast State Community College held an animal event in which Suzanne Prince and her husband advertised their 301c3 with a banner that said the Elizabeth and Carter County Animal Shelter. They also had a large black dog that was from the shelter there, and they had a laptop showing the animals that are available for adoption at the shelter. From my understanding, Ms. Prince and her husband are not government county employees, but then yet they were representing the county. Also, a group of volunteers were allowed to help with the November Empty the Shelter event, which one was recognized at the commissioners meeting as Ms. Fataga. So my concern is, we're sitting here, we want to be volunteers and we want to help, but it's not very fair, I guess I can say, that people get to be chosen on who gets to volunteer when us as experienced volunteers are not still given the time of day. Volunteers play a vital part in the animal shelter. Walking dogs, bathing, playing with cats and dogs, this all helps with socialization, which helps get these animals out of the shelter, makes them more adoptable. I know that the sign, they're saying that we have to wait for the report, and that's fine. But I feel like, as a commission, we know if there is a report, who's in that report and who is not. So there's people like the 70-year-old woman, her name is Madeline, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Damaris. She wants to foster and she can't. She has pleaded with the mayor several times to allow her to foster. There has to be something that we can do. And I want to know what's going on with Brother Wolf and what the situation is going on with that, because as time goes on, it's kitty and puppy season, and the shelter's just going to get more and more full. And when is enough? So the mayor said tonight, citizens are making a difference in the community. I want to know, why are we not allowed to make a difference when it comes to the animal shelter and the sake of the animals? So I ask you to help the shelter, help Shannon, help the shelter staff, and the community, because it is a serious problem right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? Ms. Persinger, if you would please state your name for the commission. You have 5 minutes as well.
I need an hour. My name is Brenda Persinger, and anything I do for the animals, I do it from the heart. I have never had a title as far as being a volunteer at the shelter. I'm just everywhere I see a need. I may be in your yard or your neighbor's yard sometimes, just taking a cat or a dog that needs fixing and paying for it. I have numerous times went to the animal shelter over the years and took cats out that I've seen the need that need to go to bed. I would take them and pay for it. Some I even remember at Pet Sense I took 3 or 4 times with their eyes and their ears. I could go on about that for a long time, but I won't. What I really want to talk about, we have a wonderful director. And I called down there, I think one of the girls touched on that. I called down there to talk to Wendy. I called her on her cell phone one Sunday morning to get some information information about a cat for a lady, and she said she could not talk, she was at the shelter, and I said, why on Sunday? And she said that they were having to go in and clean. I'm like, clean on Sunday, the director and Wendy on Sundays? My suggestion is, there is plenty of animals there. Instead of cleaning, if you're gonna make them work, why not have them to come in and socialize with the animals, play with the cats and dogs, walk them, get those dogs and cats ready to be more people friendly. I'm afraid some of the kittens down there will end up feral because there's no way that with just a few workers you're gonna be able to handle these pets. So why not spend that time and energy on, and money on something besides cleaning? You know, I know cleanliness is next to godliness, but there is other people there that can clean all week long. And these animals, I think, should not take second fiddle to a cleaning rag. Saturday I was down there, I went down there to take some donations, and it was approximately 3 o'clock. And I went back there and was giving some of the cats a treat, and there's a cat that's been there at least 6 months. And I picked him up, and he was just so loving. I picked him up, and he just wrapped his arms around me. And Shannon said that she had to run to Pet Sense and get a cat that was sick, and that she had to hurry back and clean her cages some more, you know, and do the litter thing and the food. And I said, Shannon, I have done that before. I would be more than happy to do that. I have an hour or two I could spend. And I got this funny look, and I said, that would be considered volunteer. And she said, that's right. And there's cameras down there for there's audio. I owe the mayor an apology if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I honestly do not believe that the comptrollers has told him we don't have no volunteers there. I think that is his own doing. And I think if you're concerned about the animals down there, there is 5 of them, the way I see it, that has signs, will buy available now. How many wants those dogs next to them? Several of them are pit bulls. And one of them in particular is so loud that if you wanted to look at a dog on either side of it, you would not, because you would be too scared to. I wanted to flip its sign over and see what else information it had besides it would buy and take me home. But I was too scared of it in case you flip its sign over. That dog is, you know, in Washington County, they don't come out on the floor like that. The only thing I can figure out, like somebody like Victor, the big guy that went to prison, take those animals out and let them, it's like it's been a fight or something like that. I mean, I just don't know what else you could do with them if you're going to keep them. And one more thing I would like to address that really concerned me. I don't remember when they started using the sawdust at the shelter. I think I read this at the last meeting that it was with the budget meeting here. The mayor put in one of the articles, the shelter was using sawdust, it's when they were asking for money. And I hope they get all the money they can get, they all need it. The shelter was using sawdust instead of cat litter, which added to respiratory infections. Well, I had told him that every month, at every meeting I would go to for at least 9 months, however long they were using. Humphrey said the result was an epidemic which killed many cats last summer. He said he did not begin to understand the needs of the shelter until he started getting phone calls from residents who were worried about the operation of the shelter. That was not so because I was there every month, and it really disappoints me that even none of the advisory board members, they either wasn't listening, didn't care, or wouldn't go down there, but nobody addressed it until, I guess, maybe almost a year later. I cannot remember. I don't know if the mayor had asked the change to the sawdust or if it's something that the director did on her own. But it was not good. So how can we change?
Thank you, Ms. Persinger. Your time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission under public comments? Yes, sir. If you would please come forward, state your name. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Kevin Arnold. I live in the Milligan District. I have been attending meetings for the past couple of months. And I see such a divide in the way that the community sees things versus the way that the mayor and the commission sees things. I feel that we need to come together and settle this. I do have a suggestion that the commission, I guess, make a motion and vote to have the animal shelter be nonprofit. Take that out of the county's cover, and let it be a nonprofit, let it run that way, have a board of directors. I just think that would be the best thing. Therefore, it would alleviate a lot of the he said, she said between the mayor, any groups that we have. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission before we bring public comments to a close? Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close that section of the agenda. You all have a copy of the minutes. Mr. Hill.
Can I have just a sec? If you would indulge me.
Pertaining to what, sir?
Well, on behalf of the Roan Mountain Appalachian Trail Community Committee.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make our chairman had a death in the family, so he wasn't able to come tonight.
Okay.
I was going to recognize him off the
Yes, sir.
out of the audience. But if it's okay, can I?
Yes, sir.
This is Roan Mountain. We just became Appalachian Trail Community number 41. We're very proud of it, and we were very happy that you could be with us on the designation ceremony. Director Somerville said that he'd never had anybody ask for 15 extra copies of the proclamations, but this is for the county for the trophy case or wherever you want to put it. It's also got one of the pins that you guys all touched.
Thank you.
Anyway, we appreciate you, and thanks a lot.
Miss Abby wants your picture back there, Mr. Hill.
Get a copy of this.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Hill. It was a great event. You know, we had people from all across the country at that event. It was very important for this county, and we will proudly display this to where it will be seen. So thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We appreciate your efforts in that event. Okay, at this point in time, you do have a copy of the minutes in your packet. You've had an opportunity to review it. Do I hear a motion at this time?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Jenkins. Is there a second? Mr. Grindstaff and Mr. Von Cannon has some comments.
Page 156, which is the second page. Under public comments, Brittany Madden was spelled M-A-T-T-O-N, I think. So I'd like to see that corrected for the permanent record.
How should it be spelled?
Miss Brittany, can you give us a proper spelling of your name?
Yes, the first name was correct, the last name is M-A-D-D-E-N, is in Nancy.
Not Matton, M-A-T-T-O-N, okay?
E-N.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, like John Madden.
Anything else, Commissioner Von Cannon? Anything else?
It's 5 or 6 in committees, but I'm going to let the committee.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On page 156, it shows Reader Mark Scott Assembly in at 10:02 p.m. Then you come down a couple of paragraphs, it's got the same thing again, marking him in 6:10.02.
Okay.
Just need to mark all them out.
And even though he was absent according to this, is that correct? Okay. So noted. Any other amendments?
He came in late.
He came in late? Okay. Seeing no other amendments, we have a motion duly made and second to accept with those amendments. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor respond accordingly. And, okay. Reveal the vote. Well, you've already done that, I'm sorry. All ayes, motion passes. Next item, notaries and bonds. Madam Clerk, please read the notaries and bonds.
Tammy D. Smith, Lori Ann Clark, Cameron L. Hyder, Savannah Cobble, Dina Harrison, Stacy S. Jack, Lisa M. White, Beverly S. Sampson, Stacy White, Vicky G. Carr, Randy Curtis, Tammy K. Taylor, Melissa Dunn Dixon, and Krista Brown.
Okay, is that the complete list? You've heard the list. Do I hear a motion to accept the notary's bond? Mr. Hill made the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Ward, any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Reveal the vote. 20 ayes, motion passes. Next item, resolutions. Resolution A, County Attorney, would you please read the resolution?
This is,
I make a motion, we suspend the reading of this resolution.
I have a motion to suspend the reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. McQueen. Any discussion? Seeing none? Yes, sir.
Even though the reading will be suspended, we do get a short synopsis of what this is about, correct? I think we agreed on that in the prior meeting.
yeah, I'll be happy to do that. I don't know what the official vote was on that, but all this resolution is allowing the highway department to do work at Kingburg Elementary School. I think there's a couple of different projects out there. These have to come back before you all each time, but the school board will be reimbursing the cost. You're just allowing the highway department to do the work because it's not county-owned property, the school board owns it.
With that, we have the motion duly made to suspend the rules or the reading of the resolution. All those in favor respond accordingly. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Sixteen ayes, motion passes. Now, the chair will entertain a motion pertaining to the adoption of the resolution. Have a motion made by Commissioner Holdren. Is there a second? Mr. Grindstaff. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor respond with aye. Those opposed, nay.
Don't have the results.
6 results. Motion passes, the majority vote. So did it lock or did you hit the button? Okay, that's not a problem. The resolution is adopted. Next item,
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to take a 10-minute recess.
let's go ahead and address item B first, sir, before we recess. Okay, next item. Next item is B. We've had quite a bit of discussion on that now. Chair will entertain a motion pertaining to item B. Is there a motion pertaining to the adoption of item B, fixing the number and terms of committee
I
members?
make a motion to do that, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Trivett. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion above and beyond what we've already had earlier?
Well, since I was on the chair, I didn't really speak for this now. The letter that you read that gave Mr. Hughes' resignation, it also asked that you publicize for his position. So to me, that did not do away with the position, so that still left 12 members. And since there's such a controversy about this, and nobody understands exactly if the planning commission knew what they were voting on, or if they didn't know how it was supposed to be presented, I would suggest we send it back to the planning commission. It's not going to hurt the way the month, and we won't get any confusion, and we'll be in compliance.
Any other discussion? Mr. McQueen.
Just out of curiosity, because I wasn't at that meeting. I know probably several of my colleagues weren't at that meeting, but
it seems that an unofficial document was somehow obtained by some of my colleagues and concerns were forwarded. I find that very concerning in regards to how that happened and what the motivations were for. And it's bothersome to me that in the city, where we're looking at a tax increase in the city and what is most likely a tax increase coming in the county, that our focus is on things like this instead of at least a dozen or so residents that I know that will cease to be able to afford medicine and things of that nature and living supplies, that we should maybe focus on the people that represented us and the things that they care about. Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion? Mr. Meehan?
I move to lay the motion on the table until the next planning commission. And we do have a fixed date.
We done vote on that motion before.
Not debatable. Need a second? Not debatable.
I don't want to accept your amendment,
We have a motion to lay on the table temporarily. It has been duly seconded. In addition to Mr. Trivett and Mr. Carroll's motion to go ahead and adopt, the motion is to lay on the table and revisit it. When, sir? It's normally within the same meeting. This is not to lay definitively.
After the consideration of the next planning commission meeting, to be brought back to this next commission meeting.
Point of order, sir. You cannot lay on the table based on Robert's Rule of Order beyond this meeting.
I don't agree with that. That's.
Well, you read.
Gentlemen, if you will, please. Gentlemen, if you will, my interpretation is that your motion to lay on the table would be an amendment that does nothing but make the motion a rejection. And that, is that not correct, County Attorney?
I think the correct interpretation has already been presented to you there. You can only lay it aside until this meeting, later in this meeting. If you want to refer it back to the committee, make that motion. Motion to refer it back to the committee. Earlier, we were talking about the agenda. That's different. If you want to make a motion to send this back to Planning Commission, make that motion, because it sounds like that's what you want to do.
But he can't make that motion right now with another motion on the floor, so his motion, based on my interpretation, is not a correct motion. His motion is just to do nothing more than a rejection of this motion, so it's not proper. Mr. Carroll, discussion.
I'm a member of that planning committee, and I was there, and I am not mistaken about what was done. It was pretty clear and pretty plain. And I want to say on behalf of some of the commissioners who thinks that this is a product of the mayor, you go back and look at the minutes and the audio and video of the commission meetings, and I was first elected as a commissioner. I brought this before the commission to change that to 8 because of the resolution that had been passed concerning equal representation from each district. We voted at that time to turn it down. And the resolution says equal representation from each district. And I know that the school districts have changed and all that. This don't make any difference. There's 8 districts. And there should be 8 people on that committee. And there is no, you can poll the people who are in here right now and ask them, did they misunderstand what that motion was? And if they understood what went on, a long time ago, I made the motion to downsize that planning commission.
Question on Al Meehan's motion.
I'm sticking.
He does not have a motion, sir. We've already rendered an opinion.
Second.
No, sir. You had a motion that was not valid. County attorney agrees. This, to lay on, Mr. Warren, Chair's, Mr. Carroll, is there anything else you want to say before I recognize Commissioner Hill?
No, I'm through. I
Okay, Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a problem necessarily with fixing the number at a lesser number than what we have right now. Like I stated earlier, there's a degree of sophistication that's lacking from this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved under that piece there. Under number 2, it says, one of the members shall be the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners for Carter County, whose term shall coincide with his or her term as chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. It's kind of redundant because whoever is the chair, that's a unique position. Whoever is the chair of the commission would be the member on the planning commission at that time. The way I read the Private Act, you know, it specifies that a county commissioner will be a member and the chairman of the county court, and then the 8 school districts would be equally represented. I count that as 10 people. There's other stuff in here. I just think that a bit of retooling might be in order to come up with a better document. We did this with the rule book, and I think we came up with a pretty good finished product by taking our time. I don't know what the rush to action is on this issue. Again, I have no particular objection to reducing the size of the planning commission, but there's an elegance that was present in 1972 and amended in 93 that isn't present here. And I'm sorry, Mr. Harden, I'm not dogging you, sir. I'm pretty sure you had like a list of things to put in here. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the time.
I would say maybe they had a little bit more time in 1972 to be elegant. I apologize, I'm not elegant in the resolution. But I would say that, you know, your reading of the Private Act's a little bit mistaken. There was not 8 school districts at that time. There's only, yeah.
But it specified that the school districts would be equally represented. So,
correct, and this has been going on for years, and there's been the Private Act, and there's been 3 resolutions that say different things since the Private Act, and there's been questions as to whether state law has preempted the Private Act, and various times throughout the time I've been here, I've tried to reconcile all those things to try to make people happy, and I apologize for the ineloquent resolution.
Well, if I might, there's an allowance with what we have now that with the staggered terms, I don't see any reason to complicate that. If we eliminate a chair or 2, that's a different matter, but I appreciate you on the time there. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Von Cannon.
I was at this planning meeting on another matter. And I left the meeting with the understanding that it was the intent of the committee to send this resolution directly to the commission body. The videotape or the audio tape confirmed that, but I don't understand that. Mr. Hill, I'm going to give you my set of law books. Anyway, it was my intent that, it was my thinking that this was going to be given directly to the commission to vote. And now we've committed for it, taken part of the way.
Mr. Grindstaff.
County Attorney, just a quick question. Private Act in 72 allows us to set the amount of members by resolution, correct? And that's been done twice, I think you quoted it in your resolution.
Correct.
And as long as it's equal representation, which granted we all know there's been multiple changes, I believe it was 4 districts, now we have 8 districts, and to meet your equal representation. But as long as we're within that, then that's acceptable within the Private Act.
Correct, and yeah, that's what I've said in the 3 or 4 different committees that have considered this. We're as equal as we can be. If you have more than 8 members, then obviously some of the districts are going to have more than 1 person. So you can't be exactly equal. And to Mr. Hill, I heard him talking about 9. The reason that we're proposing 9 is because by Private Act, the chairman has to be a member. So the only way you can be equal is to have someone from each district plus the chairman, because who knows where the chairman is going to be from. So 9's really the least number you could have and be exactly equal. Because chairman's on there regardless. Chairman might be the mayor, chairman might be a commissioner, it just happens to be the mayor right now. So I don't know any other way to get exactly equal with one from each of the 8, counting the chairman, than having 9 members. That's the only way I know how to do it.
Mr. Meehan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's unfortunate that the planning commissioner, Mr. Schuler, is not here when such an important matter has come before this commission. I would really like to see this because there's been so much back and forth with correspondence with the county attorney and the planning commissioner. There's been stuff in the newspaper, and there's just a lot of controversy and turmoil about this. I would hate to see us just hastily go ahead with this without it having another run through the planning commission when there's more members present. It would seem to me it would give it a little more credence for us to make a positive vote one way or the other if there wasn't a little less.
Ms. Culler, if you would please come up and take the chair.
If I may speak first, I have my hand up.
Okay, you go right ahead and then come take the chair.
I would like to say that there was a statement made before the vote that it would come back to the planning commission and go to attorney court.
Thank you.
You may speak, Mayor Humphrey.
Thank you, Chairman Culler. Several statements that have been made here by commission in debate, and we've talked about this long enough, but, you know, I think all of us have made clear that it's our desire to have as efficient government as possible, to be as thorough as possible. Now, I can tell you right now that when we came into office this term, all of us, we struggled with this Planning Commission document of 1972. Mr. Hill, I don't see the eloquence in that document that you do. Thank you. County attorney, by a number, specifically, the issue's been raised, we started having all those problems trying to fill these positions, trying to bring balance. I think all of you agree that the Planning Commission should be no different than any other subcommittee. Equal representation. And there is a lot of history, a lot of change has been made since 1972 because the school districts, as we well know, were totally different back then. Everything was kind of twisted and out there. This has been a commission of compliance. We've done everything we can to right those wrongs. And this is not something that just came up yesterday. County Attorney, can you tell me approximately the date when you drafted this originally? How many years ago?
I could tell you exactly if you give me just a minute. I think. Would have been right around July 8th, 2015.
2015. Here it is 2 years later. And this thing, you talk about kicking a can down the road. Now, do you want to be a commission that has a reputation of kicking a can down the road? 2 years on a simple document, in the opinion of the county attorney, when he drafted this, I've heard him say that he felt that this would simplify matters. It would give us the best opportunity for equal representation. We're not trying to destroy the world. This is not a power grab on the part of the mayor to take control, believe me. At no point in time do I want control of that planning commission. The planning commission is one of the most important committees that we have because the actions that that planning commission takes today determines what our community will be next year year after that, and so forth and so on. Commissioner McQueen, point well taken. We should be working to do the people's business, each and every one of us. We should not be laboring for 2+ years a simple document to right a wrong that was done before any of us came here. The majority of the people that I've talked to, my citizens, all across this county, not in the 1st district only, not on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, but all districts, all the way through 8. And even the social media that have resulted from the publication of the Sunday issue of the Elizabeth and Star. If you'll look at those responses, clear majority, it's not even close. The clear majority of our citizens are in support of downsizing this commission. Talking about money, it's not a lot of money that's going to save, but it is some money. We know that we've got serious issues now. We've got needs that we probably wasn't aware before. It's going to require much more commitment. And if we can save $1,800 a year and have equal representation, does that not make sense? Does that not make sense? So with that, I just make an appeal to each and every one of you to do the right thing, to do what your people want, and not vote against this because it's something that the mayor supports. I've heard that for 7 years. You know, I've taken all kinds of meetings. And you know, it doesn't matter. I'll smile most of the time when you make those comments. Because I know when I go home and I lay down, I'm doing what's right and what people ask me to do. And I'm just making an appeal that you do the same thing and vote for this. And let's put it to rest and move on with something equally as important, if not more so. Thank you.
Mr. Tester.
I'd like to say the reason this has been on for 2 years, Mr. Mayor, you've done this commission like this the whole time. That's why I never vote for you to be the chair. You're not a good chair. A good chair would never influence this commission. You're not part of the commission. You're the mayor. This commission should make their own decisions without you influencing them. And when you don't get your way, you bring it up and go back and look at many items. If you don't get your way, you bring it up until you get your way. That's why we've hanging over this thing for 2 years, because you didn't get your way. So here you are tonight, one more time, you gotta get your way. You're not a very good speaker. Chairman.
Any other discussion?
Question on the motion.
I'm a little confused. Mr. Meehan did make a motion to table it, and it was seconded by you, Ms. Keller, right? All right, so you still want to table it till the end of the meeting or some kind of meeting?
Mr. Jenkins, I can answer that because I was chair at the time.
I'm not the chair, he's addressing the chair.
Mr. Jenkins, I understand that it has to be tabled to further at this meeting only. It cannot be tabled to another meeting. So it would only be valid if he wants to table it to later in this meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the motion to send it back to committee can't interrupt the main motion which was already on the floor.
So the only motion that can be made is if he wants to wait till later in this meeting. Mr. Meehan.
The mayor has said you need to vote the way your people have said. Well, Mr. Watson is part of the 2nd district, which is our district, and I think he voted against this, if I understand the vote. And so I recommend we vote against this until we can get more clarity from the full planning commission.
Ms. Brown.
Well, if you talk to all the people in our district wants this cut down.
Did you talk to every person in our district?
Mr. Meehan.
I have talked to 98% of the.
Oh, come on.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
98%?
It's been called for the question. Madam Clerk, if you will proceed with the vote. The motion is to pass the resolution or to fail, whichever you prefer, for fixing the number of the members of the Planning Commission.
There's a tiebreaker. Thank you.
See, I'm chair, do I get to break the tie?
No, ma'am. That would give you 2 votes.
Well, I hate that.
Isn't this great? Motion fails. Motion fails.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I will make a motion at this time to send this to the planning commission for further consideration.
Second.
Have a motion made by Mr. Hill, and then second by Mr. Ward to send to Planning Commission for further consideration. Any discussion? Ms. Collins.
I hope that the planning commission, and I don't want to offend anybody on there, will get their act together and decide who is actually voting, who can vote legally, who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, so we can get this taken care of.
Ms. Collins, of the total membership, all of them was there except one, all. And that's pretty good for a subcommittee. You very seldom get that many people
Well, what I
together.
meant was that the lady that's not been there, it's the question as to whether she even should be on the committee or not.
She submitted her letter of resignation.
Well, at the time,
Okay, correct.
she hadn't, and the gentleman that they're replacing, when is that going to take place?
Have no idea. We've advertised. We'll probably have to advertise again. It's one of those positions, just like we've seen on Park and Rec and others. Sometimes it takes a while.
Mr. Mayor, to be compliant with all of the rules that we've talked about in the past, I would like you to ask Mr. Hughes to also write a letter of resignation, because that's what you said that we needed.
What I will do is call Mr. Schubler and ask him to produce. He may have a copy of that letter because he's the gentleman that drafted the correspondence. I will ask Mr. Schubler, okay? Any other discussion?
Question on the motion.
Motion is to advance this back to the Planning Commission for consideration and then back here. All those in favor respond with aye, those opposed nay. Reveal the vote. 12 ayes, motion failed.
Chairman, I make a motion to take a...
Let's take a recess for 10 minutes. Be back at 15 of. Mr. Garland, Agricultural Committee. Please give Mr. Garland your undivided attention.
Hello, Commission. I'll start off on a light, happy note. We have a special guest with us tonight in the audience. We have our new county extension agent is with us, Ms. Kathleen Wilson. I'll take a second to give a brief introduction, and I'll ask her to stand for us. But Ms. Wilson, she's native of Johnson County, I believe that's right. She was serving as the Sullivan County.
Mr. Garland, I don't mean to interrupt. Could we have her come up with you?
And if she'd like to, I think.
Ma'am, if you would, it'd be more proper for you to come to the podium with Mr. Garland as opposed to standing in the audience. It's a very important position for this county.
Yes, we have Ms. Kathleen Wilson right here. She was serving in the same position in Sullivan County. How long was that? 3 years? For 3 years. So she's with us now, kind of transferred from that. Went through the interview process as several of Mr. Von Campers that I know that. Excellent credentials, University of Tennessee, your master's degree, I think so. Okay, bachelor's. Good enough. Been in Sullivan County, like I say. She's here with us tonight, just so you guys can be familiar with the face. Very important office over there, and we're happy to have her here. You know, she's been around for a long time, so everybody please make her welcome. And her office is open all the time. She mentioned that in the last meeting, so any questions, you can have that.
Is there anything that you would like to say to address the commission? We're not as bad as we appear sometimes. We're just trying to conduct business. Ms. Wilson?
I'm happy to be a part of Carter County, and I hope if you have any questions for me, that you will feel free to contact me at the Carter County Extension Office. Thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'll go over real quick. We met May 1st, just a brief meeting. The minutes were attached in the packet. I appreciate Ms. Bunch, their office getting those sent over. Just hit on a couple things from that. They are still taking applications, I believe, for 4-H camp. I think the two separate sessions. So we want interested in 4-H. We have some students that would like to be a part of that. Still taking applications. And as always, active office, and they've got, and you can see in the minutes, they're constantly, good things going on over there, new activities. Parenting class, I heard that day was the other day, a huge turnout for that, so really good program there. We appreciate all their hard work. And I think today, Ms. Barton and the 4-H Honors Club, they had a big work day at the Folsom House, doing some work on the grounds, some improvements. So I'm sure it was great. If you guys get an opportunity to stop by there, they appreciate that. They do work hard. We know. We did move, the committee decided to request that the budget committee reserve a surplus of funding that they had. It's basically from where that position was open, the extension agent position for salary. And we decided to do that in the budget. And Ms. Cutter, she'll cover that in the next report here. But that's really all I have. We appreciate their hard work. I'm really happy to have Ms. Wilson on the job. She started May 1st, so she's been with us a few weeks.
Any questions for Chairman Garland?
I'd just like to make a statement that Mr. Garland, you're one of the youngest, but you're one of the bright spots. Taking from the oldest to the youngest, you're doing a great job as chairman of the Agriculture Committee. You just got to think more out of the box.
Along the lines with you, Mr. Bonk, and I appreciate that very much for saying that. And I was happy to become the chair of that committee. Like I say, I can't say enough about them. Anything I can do, certainly do it to help. I will add this for Mr. Von Cannon. This was in the minutes, and this is something to be proud of. So I'm going to praise him. At the bottom, Vicki Clark mentions that Charles Von Cannon was honored for volunteering over 3,000 hours for Holston Habitat for Humanity, and to me that's very impressive. That's good.
Habitat for Humanity about 10 years ago, and they found that I had no skills. So they allowed me to pick up bent nails. And I improved upon that, so I got me a magnet. And then my skill level increased a great deal. They let me straighten them. So anyway, 3,000 hours, I got to figure, that's over a year. And I could have been fishing.
For volunteer service, that's fantastic. Mr. Von Cannon, we appreciate it. Anything else?
Thank you. Ms. Culler, Budget Committee.
Before I start the budget committee, and I guess in the defense of Mr. Shipper, he is at a softball game. Did you think the softball team here in the regional, is they won? Oh, hi. They won. Am I correct that they won?
Yes, ma'am, 16-0.
And one more game and they'll be in the sub-state?
We're already in the sub-state
Right,
now.
in
We
the
just gotta
sub-state.
wait and have it home.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you will take out your budget committee items of approval, follow along. Also, while you're doing that, there is a corrected copy of the minutes, and I can sign those for the clerk, so I can run along ones to begin with. So, the first item that we have is I'll make a motion to approve the J.E. Green contract of $858,900 for the health department renovations. these things are already approved at one time.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Got a second by a number of people. Commissioner Rakeff was the one that I heard first, but there are a number of people that put their hands up. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the J.E. Green contract respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Reveal the vote, please. Okay. 20 ayes, motion passes. Ma'am, if you may, before we proceed with that, I want to thank the commission for their work on this. This is a project that Miss Caroline and I started talking about 5 years ago. 5+ years ago, plus more than that. But early on in the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, we took a tour and we outlined a number of projects. This was one of them. Of course, we've completed several, but this is the biggest by far, and it's the biggest expenditure. And here as of late, we've heard a lot of talk about disparities between taxpayers, city, county, and the like. County's not paying its fair share of this or that, or vice versa. This is an excellent example of one you never hear about, because this commission took a stance. We had an opportunity to make application for funds, special need funding, Miss Caroline. $450,000 came in immediately. The state recognized the need. You recognize the need for our citizens and the need to provide additional services in a depressed, at-risk county, which is Carter. That's our classification. And at no point in time did I hear any of you say, we will do this only if the city of Elizabethton pays their fair share. Not one time did I hear that. And that's commendable. You went ahead and made a commitment to pick up the balance, whatever that difference was, upwards of $1 million+ So you're looking at $550+ coming out, $50,000 coming out of the general fund. No time did you take that stance. You took a position to provide services to our citizens, and that's what we all need to be doing. So thank you. I think you deserve a round of applause. Go ahead, Chairman.
Next item is I will make a motion to allow the following offices to reserve funds from 2016-17. And they are the jury, reserve at $40,000, the agriculture extension to reserve at $20,000, and the clerk and master's office to reserve it to $15,000.
I'll make that form of a motion.
I already did. You want to second it?
Mr. Trivett seconding. Is that correct, Mr. Trivett? You'll second her motion? Any further discussion pertaining to the reserves for these three offices? Yes, sir. Mr. Carroll.
I'm not opposed to spending this money, but I'm opposed to doing it as we're doing it. I don't understand why there's a need for putting together a budget. These things should be included in the budget and should not be kept as a reserve.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of allowing those reserved for jury, ag extension, and clerk and master respond by aye. Those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote.
I pushed the wrong button.
That's all right. It's no problem. Reveal the vote. Motion passes. Next item.
I make a motion to approve the general fund 101 amendment number 8 for a total of $167,547.06. There's
Have-
10 items and 0 coming from the fund balance.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Acuff. Any discussion? Seeing none, respond accordingly. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Reveal the vote. Motion passes. Next item.
Next item is drug fund 122, amendment number 4, for a total of 14,000, with 12,000 coming from the drug fund balance, and I'll put that in form of motion.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Garland. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Reveal the vote. Motion passes. Next item.
Next item that I'll put in form of motion is to approve the Sports and Recreation Fund 123, amendment number 1, for a total of 10,000, with nothing coming from fund balance.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Acuff. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Motion passes. Next item, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the general purpose school fund 141, amendment number 9, for $26,480.75. Two items, 0 coming from the fund balance.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Lewis? Any discussion? Ms. Collins?
I want to make sure from Mr. Harden that what I can vote on here, since I'm with the school system.
Well, if this vote will affect your salary or benefits, or the benefits or salary of your spouse, I don't know if you have a spouse or what he does, but you're a school employee, so if this affects your salary or benefits directly, then you should abstain.
But unfortunately, it doesn't.
Thanks for the clarification. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Reveal the vote. So, Ms. Collins, you hit aye, is that correct? Did you want it to be abstained?
Well,
Or
it doesn't affect my salary, so.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
I guess I understood.
No, you
No, you
understood
understood.
correctly, I didn't hear. Chairs has a problem right now, okay, thank you.
I said,
Next
I
item.
wish you had.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that.
Next, I'll put in form of a motion to approve the general purpose school fund 141, amendment number 10. The amount is $95,595.65, with 3 items, and $27,500 coming from the general purpose school fund balance.
And that's in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan, the second. Any discussion? Proceed with the vote, Madam Clerk. Reveal the vote. Motion passes. Next
That's all
item.
I have on the committee, except to say that we will be having another hearing tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. So please do your prioritization on what we need, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
Mr. Grindstaff, Buildings and Grounds.
Just a second, we do have one more. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. What's the total?
$122.45.
Motion to, I'll put form a motion to accept the donations for $142.75.
It's $122.45.
120. I second.
Have a-
$122.45.
Second by McQueen.
I think that was March 8th.
It is March and April, 122.45. I'm sorry for the.
Okay? Any discussion? Proceed with the vote, Madam Clerk. reveal the vote. Let's see, Ms. Brown, if you would confirm, please. Reveal the vote.
Now we're finished. Thank
Now.
you, Mr. Vice.
Thank you. Mr. Grindstaff, Buildings and Grounds.
Sir, the building and grounds committee minutes are in the packet. If you will review those, that contains everything we discussed during the meeting. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions students will have. Want to extend some thank you out to the full commission here for approving the J.E. Green contract. I know that that's something that our committee's been working on diligently. I think the mayor's office with the health department. I know that we're very excited to have that, have those funds and get that underway.
Thank you, Mr. Grindstaff. Education, Mr. Ward.
If I may, I also have the Landfill and Finance Management, if you like.
Sure.
Education meeting, we had on May 4th. It was at Nate High School. It was a pretty good meeting. We had the Key Club come up and present the program to us. Bunch of volunteer ladies that got the community and did things. We also talked about the go-kart expedition of the Wilson racetrack, and they did have that on May 8th, and they got second place overall, which we all should be proud of that. That was a joint effort from Nate High School and Hampton together, getting that go-kart ready to go. A lot of students came out and actually saw that. It was something to come see because, some of the go-kart going around the rest of the racetrack, may not look too fast, but for those kids, they were very proud of what they achieved. We also had a presentation by the Kitsy girls. That's the thing through Eastman. It was a good presentation, and everybody enjoyed seeing it. Okay, next week, landfill. We had our recycle day, hazard waste day over the shelf over the city complex, and 50 cars showed up. They brought light bulbs and all kinds of different stuff, so it was a good thing too. Finance management, we voted to approve the outside agencies up to $10,000 where they don't have to do the requirements instead of doing a full-blown audit. And that's something that passed the full commission by 5-1 vote, or passed the finance management committee by 5-1 vote. Also, don't forget about the book drive. If you have any books that you'd like to donate to the school system from age K through 12, if you drop them off at the school or any of the schools, they would appreciate that. What they're going to use the books for is the feeding program, and I'm sure you guys have got the schedule on that. As the kids come in and get fed for the summer, Monday through Thursday, they also get a book to take home and read, so they'll be reading in the summertime with their extra time that they have. Dr. Ward, you have anything you want to add?
I think the schedule, everything will be printed in the papers in the next few weeks, so, we'll get the word out on what dates, times, locations that, somewhat speak take place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Do we need to take a vote on the outside agency in the commission?
No. That's a financial management committee. Correct me if I'm wrong, Director Byrd.
Correct.
Once the financial management makes that decision, it's done. The non-required commission.
$10,000 raised.
You can report on that if you like.
Commissioner Von Cannon.
The Central School auction of the guitars that were autographed or signed by Kenny Chesney, some groups that I never heard of. But anyway, the raising of the was $8,000, roughly $8,000 if everything's in. And the barbecue, I said in my close 500 people said it was 450 plus. But Dr. Ward and I, he bought my barbecue, didn't he?
I think that's right. But anyway, $80,000 for the music for Central, and I hope they distribute some of that to other schools. I don't know that.
Yeah, that's what we use for literacy and sort of things. It'll be figured out for all the kids will be able to get from it. These guitars is distributed throughout all the county schools. You know, I was telling somebody over there for a function on the night we had barbecue leave at auction. Wish I'd picked up one a little earlier in life because it's really something I wish I'd learned how to play. Never too late, but it's a little harder once you get over to learn one of the chords. But the kids like it, and getting the kids interested that seems to develop a lot of passion for playing music. So it's a great thing. So thank you. And Mr. Morley, his staff, they did an outstanding job. Mr. Don Campbell was there, and like I said, but I think Central Elementary, Mr. Morley, Lincoln Carr, and all the teachers have donated a lot of hours to put that together. So they did a great job.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. Mr. Holdren, Health and Welfare.
Nothing to report this month.
Thank you, sir. Highway Committee, Commissioner Hill, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. I'd like to recognize Gary Smith for a second. He asked for some time for a kudo for Superintendent Colbach.
Well, as several folks pointed out tonight, government doesn't always move as fast as we would like to see it. But recently, I spoke with Mr. Koval regarding the stretch of highway up in Hampton where we had several accidents, and asked him if he had any contacts at TDOT that we could have come out and take a look at the road. And of course, he did have some contacts there. And Mr. Brian Ramsey and several other members came out. Mr. Koval, Mr. Chad came out and met with them. They looked at that stretch, and they have already come and completed the work on it. And we're hopeful that that's going to resolve the issues on that particular stretch. But I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Koval and his staff.
All right, with that,
Thank you.
Ms. Collins has done her usual thorough job with the minutes, and basically everything that transpired at the meeting is there. I do have a motion to bring from the committee. I put a plat, a miniature copy of a plat on your desk at the beginning of the evening. We've had a request from New River Hardwoods to reroute Miller Hollow Road. It's the old Wayne Wolf's Claw lumber operation. And for years, Miller Hollow Road has gone through the middle of the sawmill. Their proposal is to reroute and skirt the sawmill to improve safety for the residents and for the company. The committee did vote to approve the requested land exchange and to bring the matter of paving, which is going to come at a cost of $35,938 estimated, in front of Budget Committee at the, I guess, next meeting. So the motion is to...
That's not necessarily correct, sir. I think unless something's changed, Road Superintendent Cobalt, that money was already in your budget, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not any new money. This is money that's in the Road Superintendent's budget. So he's already assessed. So with that, I would just ask if Superintendent Cobalt has any statement that he would want to make to the commission.
Well, the safety of the public and for the working sawmill, New River, I think the road should be moved over. They're donating a 40-foot driveway for us to build a new road on. They also donate the material for the cut and the embankment material, so we won't have to haul that in. That keeps down the cost. So what we will be buying is Tom asphalt. I think we should do it because of the safety. That's the reason we try to pile money into it.
Ms. Brown. Have a motion by Ms. Brown to go ahead and authorize I don't know that it's absolutely required, but to authorize Road Superintendent Caldwell to do the construction of the road after the land swap. It's actually a land swap is what you would be authorizing, correct, County Attorney?
More or less. We would be quit claiming our interest in the current road right-of-way, and they would be deeding us a new road right-of-way through a different portion of their property.
And you've already prepared those deeds?
Correct.
And they've provided the cost to date as far as the survey and everything to take care of that, to expedite the situation?
Correct.
So your motion would be then, I think the proper motion would be to authorize the land swap and the construction of the road with Mr. Caldwell's funds. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Meehan. Any discussion? It's Miller Hollow Road. Mr. Johnson.
Couple of points. Number one is the proposed new routing here, that's in an area which has flooded several times in the past. That's one of the reasons why the road is where it is now, because, you know, I've patrolled her for 14 years, I know wherever water is. But it's flooded, I know 2 times over past where the present office to the yard is.
Now, if we could get the materials off of the New River property, we can raise the road for
Okay, secondly, is the owner going to place any funds at all in this, because they're the ones who are going to benefit more than.
We have the owners with us tonight. We have President Wayne Law and Vice President David Bailey. If you would please, if you don't mind, come up and explain the situation to the County Commission. This is.
A lot of people talk to you. I'm not much of a public speaker, but I'm Wayne Law, President of New River. We've, as was mentioned earlier, we bought this mill in something like 04 from Wayne Holtzclaw. It was a relatively small mill in a pretty tight location in that curve of the road that you see there. We probably doubled production, hired about 10, 12 people at that time. Of course, the recession took a lot of people out. We shut the mill down. And we decided to bring it back, we want to bring it back in a much more efficient, productive operation. So we're going to invest a fair amount of money in new equipment. We're still going to hire 16 people. And so it's hard for us, we've actually gone before the farm credit to get our loan approved. We should have done in a couple of weeks. It's a lot easier to get a loan on an asset that you own rather than a county road. This is a safety issue. One of the reasons we didn't like this last mill is that very close near misses, people coming around that curve, we were carrying logs over to the mill, and several near misses. It's something that has to be cured. We believe this is a highway issue and it's a safety issue for the residents, but it's actually the property of the county.
Mr. Law, at no point in time have you asked this county for any concessions as far as tax abatements or anything like that, have you?
No, we haven't. We'll be investing a little over $2 million in the equipment to build this, 16 jobs. So we thought this was a reasonable request for the county to move the road.
Also, I've got one other question for you. As far as the 16 jobs, how many jobs do you suspect, based on your professional knowledge of working this industry, additional jobs would be required to support your mill operation?
Well, we'll be cutting 10 million feet of lumber a year, which is probably in the past more like 4 or 5 million, and Wayne was probably 2 million. Of that, so 10 million feet would be 8 million feet of logs, and typical compact log would get 10 or 15,000 feet of that a week. So there's going to be probably 30 to 50 different logging crews will be coming in, bringing their logs to this area and not taking them out of Carter County. I believe we'll be probably the only commercial sawmill in Carter County if we go to this.
Well, I want to thank you for your faith in Carter County and your tremendous investment here and giving the opportunity for our jobs. And just for your information, When Mr. Law contacted me, actually, his company contacted us 3 years ago, roughly. And at that time, because of the economy, because of decisions, and now change in leadership, they're willing to make that investment here. At no point in time did we ever consider this anything other than giving them, your footprint is small, correct?
Yes.
You've got 30-some acres, but usable land for that is only about
7 acres,
5 to 7 acres. And the problem now is this road, as you see it, dissects that property. So once they start with this roughly $2 million ultimate investment in equipment to a new mill, they're going to have trucks, heavy equipment in that roadway constantly throughout the day. So the whole consideration here is to make a roadway that's safe for our citizens. And this commission has just recently voted in the affirmative to pay a landowner $35,000+ to purchase a piece of property on Minton Hollow with no possible return on investment. Haven't made that purchase yet, but the whole argument there was to do it for the safety of our children. Our children are going to be riding a school bus on this road. So that's what it is. Ms. Culler.
Just a question, I know we have a campground up in that area, and they had to come through the planning commission because of the flood problem, so this hasn't come through the planning commission, but can we ask Mr. Schuler to chime in on this situation?
Yeah, in your initial engineering, Roger, they did a heck of analysis and override certificate for the additional fill that we placed there with the movement of the road. We have to get it. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That is a problem. We have to have, and for the federal problem that we can.
Any questions for Mr. Law?
I just had one quick one. You said, how many jobs total with, drivers coming in and out?
It's 16 at the mill, so there's going to be probably 30 loggers, and probably anywhere from 2 people to 8. So say 5, 30 would be 150 loggers probably, and truckers, probably another 20 truckers.
That's a new job for the county, right?
Yeah, and like I said before, this is the sawmill in Carter County. Right now, they're going off the hill to Marion. All the logs are, because the logging is going on in Carter County. It's going, we're going to down in Marion, or they're going over to Church and Church down in North Carolina and Wilkesboro. So these will be staying in the county jobs, and all the guys will probably be Carter County. We don't know, maybe 1 or 2 from Johnson County. That's where our other sawmill is in Johnson County. Yes.
A question, just a matter of information for the Agricultural Committee. The woolly adelgid is attacking the hemlock trees. How many years after when do they have to be harvested to get the tree before the?
Oh, a lot of them already passed.
3 years?
Yeah, I mean, there's people been hurt with fallen limbs and things. A majority of the hemlock probably has already passed for commercial use. And the worst thing right now is ashes like that. Ashes, by next year or 2 years from now, ash would be the same way.
Ms. Culler.
I believe Mr. Schuler said it would be a problem, so I think we need to refer this back to planning.
Well, ma'am, I think that we've got a road superintendent that goes through the process, and we should entrust him with his contacts in Nashville. I think he's more than capable of building the road, and the motion's duly been made by Ms. Brown and Mr. Meehan. Any more discussion or questions for Mr. Law before we proceed with the vote?
Very sound motion.
Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of allowing Road Superintendent Caldwell to build the road after we went through the legal land swap for these 2 properties, respond by aye if you're in favor, nay if you're against. Ms. Culler, would you please confirm? Reveal the vote. 16 ayes, motion passes. Gentlemen, thank you. We appreciate you. Sorry that we've had to detain you for this length here
I want
tonight.
to thank the commission. We'll be good members, and we hope to be
running by September 1st.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Mr. Hill, is there any other items on the highway bill?
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Law enforcement, Mr. McQueen.
We have nothing new to add this time, sir.
Nomination, Mr. Meehan.
The request to leave reappointments in the health department, there's nothing beyond that.
We do need full commission approval of those appointments. Since you're not familiar with those, Commissioner, Ms. Hurt, would you please come up? Sad. Sad situation. Ms. Caroline, could you just very quickly outline for the commission the two new appointments that were confirmed by the Health Council?
Yes, good evening. In March of 2016, you all affirmed for a 4-year term our Board of Health, and that is by Tennessee Code Annotated. 2 of those members moved away and left our board, so we had to reappoint to refill. By Tennessee Code Annotated, the County Commission does have the authority to approve the folks that the Board of Health nominate and bring to the table. That may go through the nominating committee. The 2 folks that we appoint, and Tennessee Code Annotated does prescribe certain positions, certain disciplines of health. So one was a dentist, and the dentist that we have brought to the table for affirmation is Dr. Bob Lewis. He is in this area. And the other fellow that we lost was a medical doctor, and the doctor that we have brought to the table to affirm as part of the board to fill the rest of the terms until March 2020, and then we'll come to you again, is Dr. Brian Wakefield. He is a pediatrician, and he's here in town.
I'll put that before the commission as a motion to approve those 2 appointments.
I'll say it.
Have a motion made. Thank you, sir. Seconded by Ms. Brown. And you're also acknowledging the rest of the members, which we don't have tonight, but you're acknowledging the full board. So if you'll amend that to include the entire health board, sir.
It would.
Ms. Brown, would you agree with that amendment?
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Commissioner Von Ken. Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Absolute. Anything else, Mr. Meehan?
That's all.
Thank you, sir. Parks and Rec, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Googe is not here. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I just want to direct you to minutes in the packet. There's several memorandum of understandings that we've signed in the past couple of meetings with the Hunting and Fishing Association, Tennessee Parks and Recreation Board with the City of Elizabeth. It's been hard at it. Also notice there's a letter in here requesting to put, addressed to you as requesting to put the stage county property we're on, and on the tax, or on the insurance.
Was that the one on your desk from Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of that right now. Could you bring up?
My question is, we just need to, if that's something the whole commission needs to do, or it's addressed to you and Krista.
Yeah. Correct.
Oh, well, I was just saying that we don't necessarily own the stage, but just making our insurance carrier aware that there's a stage on the property. There's a new use on the property, and I asked Krista that before she left, and she said she would do that.
So it doesn't require any action here, it's just like the improvements at the health department, like we'll advise our carrier, just what we did when we took possession again of the 911 office. So those have all been added, that's part of the routine, okay?
Sounds good. Nothing else for Parks and Rec, rules and bylaws. I want to invite the county office holders, and meeting to go over the open policy records, the 24th, that's next Wednesday at 9 a.m. We're kind of on a deadline. We need to get it figured out and come to a conclusion very soon. So please be there if you can. With that.
Rules and bylaws?
That's it.
That's it, okay. Any other committees that have not been called? County Attorney's report. County Attorney.
Briefly, no new litigation to report this month, which is good. No real updates there. As always, research and render opinions for any county official or office holder or commissioner who asked me. Various committees attended this month. Planning Commission. Parks and Rec, Law Enforcement, Health and Welfare, Rules and Bylaws, Buildings and Grounds, Highway, Financial Management. And I want you all to know, I don't just randomly choose to go to these or not, and I'm not ignoring your committee if I haven't been there. If nobody asks me, I don't impose myself upon your committee. But if someone needs me there or asks me to be there for some reason, I go. So I went to many of those this month. The resolutions, of course, that were considered tonight. Highway Committee is one of the more active committees, and we recently had some correspondence with TDOT for a safety assessment of a roadway there, and that report was made back to them, and there's some further action going on there. Road closures, road additions, all those things normally happen in Highway Committee. Of course, the two quitclaim deeds we spoke of tonight for the Miller Hollow Road area, drafted those deeds. The excess property sale, I think we finally dispersed all deeds for those 14 properties, and I think most have been recorded now, and so those are back on the tax roll again. But that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Any questions for County Attorney? Mr. Garland.
The resolution, I guess, for the animal control or that whole big one we were working on before, has it been sent back to law enforcement? Has it made its way there yet?
I don't know that there's been any real substantial discussion. We have had some meetings, and one at least joint meeting with the sheriff's office, and there was discussion there. It is in the, negotiation or editing stage, but as far as actual changes to that resolution, there's been no substantial changes, and it's nowhere close to, I don't think, being represented at this point.
Any other questions for Attorney Harden? Commissioner comments? Ms. Collins, go right ahead.
Well, I want two things. I wanted to know if there was any kind of update on the Northeast Tennessee Economic Development Partnership that we joined. I haven't heard anything in a while, so I was wondering.
The initial organizational meeting for this past month had to be rescheduled due to major conflicts. Actually, I think there was an email of the many that hit my desk today that I've not really got a chance to respond and read that gave a proposed date. The moment that I find out what that date is and any additional information, I'll be glad to advance that on to you and the rest of the commission. It's important. Of course, keep in mind, we all went to the gala, which where they outlined the goals, but it took a long time to get there, going through the legalities, getting bank accounts set up, getting everything properly filed, and the moment we have additional information, I'll pass that along. Now, 1101 board meeting will be tomorrow night here. Of course, we've got some conflicts, and I'll attend that board meeting, and then I'll come on to the budget just as quick as I can, maybe a little delayed in that, because I have a report we weren't able to be there last month. So we'll keep you apprised, okay?
Okay, and also, have we got the comptroller's report back yet on animal shelter?
We have not. Actually, I have an appointment this week with the District Attorney General, and so does the Comptroller's Office, have an appointment scheduled. The investigation is ongoing. Believe me, I wish it were behind us. Nobody wants this done faster than this mayor does and his staff. As far as once the district attorney renders his opinion, hopefully the Comptroller's Office will likewise put together a report. I've asked repeatedly for months, how long is it going to take? There is no, they have limited staff like everybody else, a limited number of investigators, so they're working on it diligently. Ms. Robinson has devoted just a tremendous amount of time producing documents. It's just unbelievable. I think she spent more time on this and being as thorough as she can is what we did a year plus ago with Carter County tomorrow. You know what a deal that was. But it was absolutely necessary, and we're fortunate to have her here helping aid and expedite this investigation, because there's not been anything that's been asked for to date that she hasn't delivered. And it has required tremendous effort on the part of the Finance Department and other folks to compile this. It's been a very labor-intense exercise. So we're working as diligently as we can. The moment we've got information, we'll pass it along to full commission. The moment the report hits, it'll be published. I won't have to, because Justin Wilson will publish it for the world to see. And, you know, we've addressed every item that we feel that we needed to, but there's a lot that we don't know above and beyond. So we're anxiously waiting that. Policies and procedures will have to include, I'm certain, a number of these findings. We've got to respond. While we're talking about animal shelter, I want this commission, the City of Elizabethton, and Carter County to know that since June of last year, my office has been consumed by this animal shelter. We went into a war zone. We went into a situation where the flames were lapping through the roof. We went into a fire mode to extinguish. We've done excellent work to date. We have established tremendous relationships with a number of very respectable entities. We're doing everything that we can to cut cost. It's been a big job. Ms. Posada is a new employee. She's been here now roughly 6 months. We've done everything that we can to help her in this transition. Effective Friday of last week and through emails today, I've made clear to Ms. Posada, as I promised everyone, we would be transitioning the mayor's office out of that operation as quickly as possible. Ms. Robinson has a tremendous amount of work to do here, working with the control authorities to finalize the investigation and give them the information she wants. It's taken a tremendous amount of time. She also has worked diligently to establish these relations. Had it not been for her, we wouldn't have these relations. We're fortunate to have her. But now we're at a level that Ms. Posada is being transitioned into those. So effective now, immediate, she will be responsible for this high bar that we have. The standard's been raised. She will be responsible with her staff of maintaining that level of performance. That's just right. So she will be responsible for taking care of all the LMU transports, coordinating that. She'll be responsible for the Kentucky Rescue transports and establishing other rescues. We will, when Brother Wolf is anxious, they're here, they're ready to take part. However, until this investigation is complete, they have to work independent. And we would love for them to come here and set up their chapter and start interfacing with those people in the community that want to help. Tonight, the citizens, I hope you all listen to them, because they had great points. They had great points. One of the things that they have done tonight is reinforce to you what the mayor has been telling you all along. We are in a situation where we are seriously underfunded, even with the new budget. We need every penny that we can get to maintain this operation. We need to develop these opportunities for our citizens. The reason, one main reason, is the investigation. The other reason is, and you heard it from the citizens tonight, allowing volunteers into the shelter in unsupervised situations put not only those citizens and their children at risk, it puts our animals at risk. So, we have to have supervision. And right now, Miss Posada has 5 employees, including her. We've got trustee labor. They're helpful. They do what they can. And yes, we have implemented rigid 40-hour work schedules. We never had that before. The reason we did that is to make certain, first, that we've got a work schedule that's fair to all our employees. We don't want the same employee working every weekend. Every weekend. The schedules that we have in place now that has been developed by Ms. Posada and will remain in place, 40-hour work week, nothing more. City of Elizabethton's employee, 40 hours and nothing more. It's not the 70, 80 that we were doing before. So we're doing everything we can to put this in place. And also, we've just ordered time clocks. Those time clocks, I think, came today. There will be one going into the shelter because this commission, a year plus ago, voted for True Time. We're going to put that in place. We're trying to make this the best operation possible, one is compliant, that we adhere to a schedule. So I really appreciate the citizens tonight. Every point that I've made up to date, they've reinforced to you. We need funding, we need help, and yes, we do have to clean on Sunday. I'm sorry, folks, but that's a 24/7 operation. I don't know how many of you have been down there first thing in the morning. I have. If you've not, please go down. Look at the dog kennels. Look at the cat cages. Those need to be cleaned on Sunday just as well as they do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, Saturday. So we've got a serious problem on our hands. It does require your support and commitment. And as I've asked all along, we need your help to resolve this issue. As far as animal control, you did authorize the purchase of the truck. It's been ordered. We've got to make that happen one way or the other. The sheriff had committed to a plan. I wish he were here now to expand as where we're at on that, and we're taking our meeting as quickly as we can to try to, he's the one that's developing that program, and it's up to him, not me. But just going forward, if you have any issues, don't call Miss Robinson for anything that's going on at the shelter that's not going right, or it is going right still yet. She doesn't have time because we've got several major projects right now that we're working on to move this county forward from the executive office perspective. And I'm certain Ms. Posada will do a good job. So she needs your support to help her maintain that high bar that has been set today. So I encourage you to give her that support. Yes, Mr. Tripp.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lyons is having some medical problems, and I talked to him today. He's gone to Charlotte. He's having a consultation on his back and stuff. So let's remember him and keep him in your prayers.
Thank you. Likewise, Mr. Lyons done a good job, and we want to make certain he has a very full and speedy recovery. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason why I come up here, I get turned on the third row out there, all my back, y'all see it, I'm paying attention. What I want to address with you is a topic of life and safety issue concerning some of our employees here in the county. Brought it up 2 times before in subcommittee, and I've heard it for the 4th time here at this podium by public speakers of its activities. And checking with 911, these activities are number one is in our Carter County Elizabethan Animal Shelter. They are employees of that are going out at nighttime on calls that are not dispatched by 911. You don't have any first responders whatsoever present. They have, as stated by their directors and by their employees, no training whatsoever. And unless it is of a dire emergency, they don't need to be out there past operation hours, unless the law or first responder is there to provide safety for them. It is dangerous out there at night. Retired from that, I know just exactly what it looks like to live out in Florida, which hasn't been right. Now, I want to put on record for it because when the first one gets hurt, then I'm going to let them know that the commission fell to deaf ears. I so propose, or no, I don't, I'm making a motion that before this body that no animal shelter employer or staff is to answer calls after operation hours unless dispatched by 911 and assures that the first responder is standing by for their safety as they complete their job.
Second.
Thank you.
With all due respect, sir, it's out of the scope of the authority of the commission unless the county attorney can advise otherwise. Currently, the day-to-day operations of the commission, or the planning animal shelter, falls under the scope of the county mayor. Could you please weigh in on that, county attorney?
I agree that as it's set up now, the final say is the mayor on the operation of the animal shelter. I do share your concern, and ultimately it would be Carter County on the hook. But as this commission has approved, along with Elizabeth City Council, day-to-day operation is under the mayor's purview.
And with that, with all due respect, Commissioner Johnson, the county commission is not complacent. At no point in time are they complacent because this legislative body, sir, voted in the affirmative to fund an animal control program. They recognize the need. I agree with that need, and time is of the essence. I'm of the utmost support of the animal control program because I've been asking for years sitting on the advisory board. I'm still a proponent of that. So therefore, I would ask the sheriff to do everything that he can to expedite. We've had the meetings. We've provided the sheriff's department with a number of ASPCA training programs that are available. We've got to ensure not only our shelter staff, but the sheriff department staff likewise is properly trained. Now somebody's got to answer these calls. And until that's in place, we'll continue to do what we have to date. So get with the sheriff, do everything you can to support the sheriff in his program. We've already ordered the equipment. Let's expedite it as quickly as possible. Mr. McQueen.
So, if I'm to understand that correctly and doing everything that we can, to Mr. Johnson's point, would it be, in order to schedule a special call meeting of the law enforcement committee, request by invitation that the sheriff be there and see what we can do to take action immediately on this?
Sir, as chairman of that, you're most welcome to schedule that to try to expedite, if you would like to do so.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chair, I want to about this deployment.
Yes, sir.
One, that's a nice flowery speech, but the safety of that employee is at hand. Even though you're a director, if you don't have a concern, that's fine, but I do. I've been on the call on footsteps. I worked for this county for over 30 years as a law officer. It is no fun and games. There's not even, today, and it was even published in the newspaper, policies and procedures have not been completed. The rules and regulations haven't been completed. There is no guidelines to place a director in harm's way are their employees. Now, you can flare it up all you want, but that life and safety at dark is a very serious topic.
Sir, I know that. I've acknowledged it. At no point in time have I disagreed with you. Even in my flowery remarks, I think I supported you in your position in that. So, thank you. Mr. Meehan.
Sort of direct this to the county attorney. Does the commission not have the fiduciary responsibility for the county in case of a lawsuit? And in spite of the mayor's insistence that he can allow these kinds of activities to go on, are we not in a vulnerable position for a lawsuit if something should happen to one of these employees going out on the call?
Well, I don't want to say we're in a vulnerable position, but I would say, what I did say is I share Mr. Johnson's concern. Unfortunately, the bylaws as they are established and approved by this commission and the city council give full discretion and authority and control to the mayor. Now, we can amend those with this board and the city council in agreement to do so, and we can change it however you like, but it's going to take the agreement of us and the city. But as it stands right now, that's what was approved and that's what's been in place. Is the mayor's office has the ultimate decision there, and the advisory board has the ability to do just that, advise. But they have no real autonomy. They advise the mayor, and the mayor makes the decision. So that's where we are right now, unless that changes. And I certainly share the concern, and in no way am I advocating animal shelter employees responding to anything other than working at the animal shelter.
Do you, as a county attorney, advocate that the mayor place these people in harm's way?
Certainly not. Do not advocate for that. I can only tell you the way it exists right now, and I can only tell you that it can be changed, and that I share the concern expressed by Mr. Johnson.
Along that line, you know, there's nothing that this mayor would like better. Mr. Meehan, can you hear me? There's nothing that this mayor would like better than for this commission and the city council to take action on the current bylaws of the Elizabeth and Carter County Animal Shelter. And you talking about precedents? Let's talk about precedents, especially here in the county. We have a planning director that reports to committee. We have a landfill director by private act likewise that reports to committee. Now tonight I've heard many of you that are so displeased with the performance of the mayor. Not only as chair, he's a horrible chair, but he can't properly manage the animal shelter. So there's nothing that I would like better than this commission and that city council to take as expeditious action as possible to rewrite those bylaws so that we put it under one of our existing subcommittees. I think it would be a lot better, and that would give each of you an opportunity to get actively involved, because to date, I have seen just a handful of you even visit the shelter. And also, as far as the city of Elizabethton, our Elizabethton Mayor Alexander, who I hold in high regard, we sit on a number of boards together, and we have all kinds of discussions that are positive. But you know, Ms. Posada made it clear to me that our mayor who has a seat on that board, just like this mayor, has been there once, and that was last week. Once in from the time it was constructed. So I really appreciate all the input. I appreciate all of the criticism and the things that the mayor's doing wrong. But I would really appreciate some help. I've asked for it repeatedly, Mr. Meehan. So if you and your colleagues, along with the colleagues across the street, will come together and put together an advisory board or committee that will take this totally from the office of mayor, it would be delightful. What's the holdup? Time's of the essence. Quit kicking the can down the road.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not criticizing your decisions. I'm just saying that you have the authority to prevent this director of the animal shelter from being put into harm's way by telling her, don't respond to these until we get an adequate law enforcement situation in place.
Sir, when these calls come in at all hours of the night, we've got animals out there also that are at risk. Those people, those animals are injured. They need to be transported for medical care. We have a fiduciary duty, sir, to take care of them at all. And again, the point's back to you and to this commission. You've already taken a stance. I'm not blaming you for that. You recognize the need, you funded it, but you need to expedite making certain that this program's in place. You're the only one who can do that. The mayor can't. It's outside his scope. It's within your scope, sir. Mr. Jenkins.
Along those same lines, I hate to keep on with animal shelter. We've spent so much time over the past several months. I'm really frustrated with it. I'm sure.
So am I.
You guys, you
To the end.
on these commissions. Mr. Kevin Arnold said something earlier about making the shelter a nonprofit, and you suggested maybe putting it under the board. Clearly, what we're doing is not working. So we need to do something, whether it's going back to a nonprofit or whether it's putting it under a board. And I'm tired of discussing it and wasting our taxpayers' money down here. So it's time to get out of it. So I'm in favor of that, as nonprofit, whatever we need to do, whatever board we need to send it to. I'm up for suggestions right now, so we can get the ball rolling.
Mr. Jenkins, I agree with everything that you said except for one. You said it's not working. Right now it is working.
I got you.
We have a shelter that's more respectable now than it's ever been. Nobody can question that. It's been down there and seen it. And as far as the 501c3, this mayor has advocated that as well. Commissioner Acuff, early on, some of his colleagues visited our neighboring shelter of Washington County. Mr. Hill has visited shelters. I have visited more than I care to. And I know more about shelters right now than I ever thought as county mayor. I'm the only county mayor in East Tennessee that is burdened with this situation. And I think we've done a good job. Really. And as far as 501c3, that's why we developed these relationships with the Brother Wolves and the others. We're trying to create opportunities. As I've told you, not once, not twice, but many times, we do not have an organization in Carter County now that is solvent enough to take on even these additional costs that we see that we need just to maintain the bare level minimum of service. So as your role as elected official, you can go out in the community, you can reach out to investor developers and see if they're interested. You can't solicit. You know, that's something we talk about here tonight. As elected official, I can't solicit. Ms. Robinson has reached out. She's put together grant funding applications. Some been awarded, some can't, depending on government versus non-government. We need that. But right now, what good would it do to convert to a 501c3? Because until you have that firm that's solvent enough to make up that difference, you're still going to have to fund it. And even in these neighboring communities, correct me if I'm wrong, does not Washington County and City of Johnson City contribute a significant level of funding to the overall right at $800,000+ budget in Washington County?
They do.
They do.
Green County the same way, except they both have 501c3 operations to help offset some of that.
Right. And that's what we need to do long term, but that can't happen overnight. If you've got any suggestions, please bring it back, get together in your committee, discuss it, do whatever you can, and I'll help you. If you've got that person come to the table, I'll be the first there.
back to what I originally said, do we need to take this back to the animal advisory board about getting it under a committee point of view? What do we need to do?
I think all of you need to attend an Animal Shelter Advisory Board. Unfortunately, right now, the membership is down there. We just had a resignation last week. So one of our Animal Shelter Advisory Board members is ill. So that leaves myself, Mr. McQueen, Mr. Mike Barnett, Mr. Bob White. Who am I missing, Cody?
Posada's on there.
No, Posada is not on the board. She serves only as secretary. John Bland is ill. So you need to be involved. Please come to the board. And I think that these discussions do not need to be made here and at City Council. I would encourage that those discussions be made during the advisory board to save time here. We've heard the argument. We've heard what the citizens have to say. It's not that it's falling on deaf ears. It's a big problem. It's a 24/7 operation, folks. We got 5 people. Just do the math. And one of those people is an office clerk that does not supervise the trustee labor. We got to cover it 24/7. Thank you.
Point of order, don't we have a motion on the floor?
That motion is not a valid motion, sir. It's not a good motion. Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Johnson.
Mayor, just wanted to announce.
Mr. Acuff has an announcement.
I'll make this quick. Mayor alluded to me, and I certainly agree with them. We need a lot more prayer and servant leadership. Thank you for those comments, Mayor. So even though Monday the 22nd is not the last day or the last Monday of the month, it is the 4th Monday of the month. And as a result of that, we will have our prayer and fellowship meeting at the Covered Bridge, beginning at 6:30, Covered Bridge Restaurant. Be there. I'll be preaching to myself. So if you want to come and listen, that's fine. I agree with the mayor when you want to. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
6:30 a.m. Set your alarm clock.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I want to clarify that I no means intended to make any criticism of your decisions on your department. Okay, and if it is, if you take it such to an offer, my apologies, which is very far and few between. You know, I don't know. But my last point that I'm going to make, I'm going to illustrate. In the Johnson City Press Chronicle 3 weeks ago, headlines is, court dislikes sending a tactical team to an animal hoarder, which resulted in the animal hoarder being killed. Started out, I called the law enforcement agency. The incident was animal control officer went out at night untrained, but a gun or weapon was pulled on. They did have an opportunity to retrieve. They called 911, brought out the Army. Next thing you know, a gunfight ensued, and the person was killed. That was unnecessary.
Mr. Johnson, I didn't take offense to that. Even when the other half a dozen of your colleagues tonight did take a stab at the mayor, he just smiled and went on, so it doesn't bother him. He's case hardened, okay? Case hardened. Any other comments? Mr. Von Cannon.
I'd like to change the subject. A few weeks ago, Senator Alexander and Senator Corker were able to get 6,700 acres set aside in Rocky Fork and some acreage to add to sinks in Johnson County. I've been thinking, when I was on Holston Mountain the other day, looking at the beautiful view, what if they had given us several thousand acres from the top of Holston Mountain to build these big houses on? And they will build them. I was up there the other day at the log house that you can see forever. And that's another story, but we won't talk about the log house. The second one is going to Bleeding Member and going to adding to Virginia. The first one is on the mountain. We've got to start thinking out of the box a little bit, and I think we've got to put pressure on these people to give us some land.
Unicoi County is worse shape than we are. A big percentage of our acreage is federal land and it's not taxed. The only thing we get out of it is a few dollars when they do some logging. And that's it. And we didn't get that until the mayor found out that all you've got to do is to sign a form and they'll send you money. For several years, we didn't even know that. So it's just free. So, I guess what we're thinking is, somewhere along the way, instead of setting aside the land, bring that land to where we can use it for, and you think hound ears, think some of the North Carolina projects around the Bandersville, they are well off because they've got what we've got, but the federal government owns it. So let's do some thinking about how to go about this.
Commissioner McQueen.
Mr. Shipley was the advisory board member.
I'm sorry. Mr. Shipley's been there from day one, just drew a blank. Mr. Carroll.
Mayor, I'd like to, people think, a lot of commissioners think I don't think for myself, so I want to clarify that a little bit tonight, that you think for me. I want to go on public record as disagreeing with the mayor tonight. He said that we're not as bad as we seem. But we are. If you attend many of these meetings, you find the same thing every meeting. Well, I disagree with that, Mayor.
Respectfully. Go ahead.
You need to be with us Monday morning. I need it more than you do, but you need to be there.
Any other commissioner comments?
Mayor, one thing,
Yeah.
I think, along with what Commissioner Von Cannon said, we had a great meeting with the Forestry Service last week.
It's wonderful.
Commissioner Grindstaff was there, Kim Birchfield from
Yeah.
the city, as well as Chris Little, and it was called together by Senator Alexander's office, Lana Moore. And we had some, I think, some very meaningful discussion and looking for a partnership with them on a number of issues. So, Commissioner Von Cannon, those things are in the works. And I thank the mayor for being there and solidifying or help us to solidify that partnership going forward.
It's positive.
Yeah.
And also, in advance of this, Mr. Ken Googe and I met with Lana. We've met with the senator one-on-one. His staff has come back for the Over Mountain Victory Trail. So there's a lot of positive going on, folks. We just need to work together, and with that open heart, that servant leader's heart, we work together, not against each other. And that's where we're at now. Some of you just want to tear down and destroy. We're not going to move this county forward that way. We've had a lot of success, and we can continue the success working together collectively. It takes the mayor and the commission. So good job. Thank you. Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Move, seconded. All in favor? Any opposed?